Don't you absolutely hate it when you're all geared up for something and then the most unexpected news just steals the thunder? Well, the disturbing news about Jared Leto has just about ruined my excitement on the upcoming Masters of the Universe movie, and I think it's high time that we're prepared for the repercussion. For those of you who haven't heard it yet, Jared Leto's name appears in the newly unearthed Epstein files, and the context is just as baffling and unsettling as the man's public persona. The entry is painfully brief in an email from 2015 that simply reads, "Jared Leto did very well, winky face." That is how the Suicide Squad star and 30 Second to Mars frontman makes his debut in the most notorious cache of documents in modern history. Does this single vague sentence instantly mean he's a notorious predator? Well, legally and factually, it doesn't. But it does look suspicious when you put it in conjunction with everything else this man has been accused of over the last 2 decades. In fact, it's just the latest piece of a very disturbing puzzle that Hollywood has been collectively trying to ignore for years. I've been watching this play out, and if it is finally revealed that he's part of the scandal, I think most of us will just nod our heads and not be surprised out of our wits. This wouldn't be like an accusation on someone like Keanu Reeves or Nicolas Cage that will leave us all shocked. In this video, let's look at the facts, the latest bombs dropped on his career, and the truth behind the severe allegations. Maybe you'll have an idea of how he somehow keeps surviving box office disasters, and exactly how this is going to cast a massive, dark shadow over the upcoming Masters of the Universe 2026 movie. You know what I find the most disturbing here? The Epstein name drop doesn't come from nowhere, but it lands on top of a mountain of existing allegations. Is there a history of people making up claims for cash and notoriety? Yeah, of course. But the sheer volume and consistency of the claims against Leto paint a picture that is incredibly difficult to dismiss as mere coincidence or coordinated revenge. Let's rewind to 2018. Actor Dylan Sprouse tweeted about Leto messaging young female models. James Gunn, who is now the co-head of DC Studios, bluntly replied to that tweet by saying, "He starts at 18 on the internet?" At the time, people brushed it off as a dark Hollywood joke. But the reality is that Leto's alleged fondness for young, potentially underaged women is one of the worst kept secrets in the industry. The dam finally broke wide open last year in June of 2025 when the digital weekly Airmail published a horrifying expose where 9 different women accused him of sexual misconduct, with several claiming they were underage at the time of the incidents. The quotes from these women are chilling, and this wasn't framed as a momentary lapse in judgment, but a long-standing pattern of predatory behavior. One woman explicitly stated, "It's been an open secret for a long time, widely known in some circles and generally quietly accepted." An actress who began a texting relationship with Leto while she was underage described how visits to his house turned deeply uncomfortable. She recalled him asking utterly deranged questions like, "Do any of the little boys you hang out with you?" Other women detailed instances of him walking out of rooms completely naked in front of 17-year-olds, aggressively pursuing 16-year-olds for their phone numbers, and cornering young women at his infamous house parties. Leto's representatives, of course, have expressly denied all of these allegations, claiming his communications contained nothing inappropriate and trying to discredit the victims. But when you have nearly a dozen women plus industry insiders like James Gunn pointing at the exact same predatory behavior, the defense starts to look incredibly thin. Also, here's the thing that truly baffles me. How does Jared Leto keep getting these massive tentpole roles? I mean, let's look into the math. The man is essentially box office poison. His turn as the Joker in Suicide Squad was universally mocked. Morbius was such a catastrophic meme of a failure that Sony foolishly released it twice, only for it to bomb both times. His recent outing in last year's Tron Ares was another financial and critical disappointment. He hasn't had a genuine, unmitigated box office success anchored by his name in years. And yet, he keeps landing major parts. It fuels the rampant online speculation. Does this guy have some serious dirt on some very powerful people? Is he financing these movies himself? Or is Hollywood just that insulated from reality? An Oscar win for Dallas Buyers Club back in 2014 buys an actor a lot of leeway in this town. But the return on investment for casting Leto has been deeply in the red for a long time. Now this brings me to the Masters of the Universe problem, which is deeply concerning for me because I've been waiting for this mega project for a very long time. Despite the box office bombs and the horrific 2025 Airmail allegations, Amazon MGM Studios and director Travis Knight are pressing forward with their live-action Masters of the Universe reboot, slated for release on June 5th, 2026. Nicholas Gallatin is playing He-Man, Camila Mendez is Teela, Idris Elba is Man-at-Arms, and Jared Leto is Skeletor. Leto is reportedly bringing a dry Shakespearean vocal performance to the iconic skull-faced villain, abandoning the screechy nasal whine of the 1980s cartoon in favor of something more akin to Frank Langella's 1987 take. He's doing the motion capture, wearing the blue suit, and leaning hard into the villainy. But here's how the real-world allegations are going to absolutely torpedo this movie's marketing campaign. Firstly, the press tour will be a minefield. How exactly does Travis Knight or Nicholas Gallatin sit in a press junket and answer questions about the movie when the internet is screaming about the Epstein files and the accusers? The PR team will try to ban non-movie questions, but the sheer toxicity of Leto's presence will dominate the narrative. Every interview will have an undercurrent of tension. Personally, I find it incredibly difficult to enjoy the actor playing a menacing villainous creep on screen, while they're simultaneously being accused of being a highly disturbing predatory creep in real life. The escapism vanishes. Instead of seeing the Lord of Destruction trying to conquer Castle Grayskull, audiences will just see a 54-year-old man accused of asking 16-year-old girls deeply traumatic questions. The Masters of the Universe fandom is already fiercely divided online. While some are curious about his Shakespearean take, a massive chunk of the audience is completely repulsed. As one fan on Reddit bluntly put it, "Congratulations, you just killed any interest I had in the portrayal of one of the most iconic hammy villains there is." You cannot build a billion-dollar franchise on a foundation of audience disgust. We've seen this exact scenario play out before, and studios never seem to learn their lesson until it costs them hundreds of millions of dollars. For instance, Warner Brothers ignored the mounting, erratic, and violent allegations against Ezra Miller for years, desperately hoping the PR storm would blow over before The Flash released. The movie became a historic box office disaster because audiences simply refused to support the actor. Death on the Nile had to clumsily navigate its release after Hammer's cannibalistic and abusive texting scandals broke. His career imploded overnight, and the movie suffered for it. Studios keep playing this game of corporate chicken, betting the general audiences won't care about the internet drama. But allegations of grooming, underage coercion, and Epstein connections are not internet drama. They are radioactive. Amazon MGM is walking into a minefield with Masters of the Universe. Here's where I stand on the matter. The open secret needs to be dragged into the daylight, and the industry needs to stop rewarding alleged predators with millions of dollars in pop culture immortality. What could happen next? If more context from the Epstein files drops, if we find out exactly what Jared Leto did very well winky face means, and it correlates with the allegations of underage misconduct, Amazon MGM will have no choice but to act. There is a very real possibility that if the pressure mounts, Leto could be recast. Since Skeletor is heavily CGI and motion captured, Travis Knight could pull a Ridley Scott, who famously replaced Kevin Spacey with Christopher Plummer in All the Money in the World at the 11th hour. They could hire an incredible voice actor, maybe even bring Mark Hamill or Alan Oppenheimer, and just digitally replace Leto's performance. It would be expensive, but it would also save the franchise. If they do nothing, the movie is doomed. You cannot market toys and nostalgia to families when the face of your villain is trending alongside Jeffrey Epstein. As for the Masters of the Universe fans, you have every right to be concerned. You've waited years for a competent live-action adaptation, and now it's been tainted by a casting choice that ranges from baffling to deeply offensive. The only language Hollywood understands is money. If you're uncomfortable with Leto's involvement, don't buy a ticket, don't stream it, be vocal, but direct it properly. Let Amazon MGM Studios and Mattel Films know exactly why you are checking out. It's about the refusal to hold powerful men accountable, and I think it's high time that this stops. If you need a He-Man fix, watch the phenomenal animated series Masters of the Universe Revolution on Netflix. Support the creators who are doing it right by the franchise without the baggage. We are past the point of giving the benefit of the doubt to men who have a 2-decade-long trail of whispered warnings, James Gunn callouts, 9 brave accusers, and a winking shout-out in the Epstein files. It's time for the industry to finally close the book on this open secret, and no entertainment can override the blatant, despicable crimes against humanity. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this disturbing piece of news, and also share your take on the impact on the upcoming Masters of the Universe movie because of this.